Hi, I'm Maja from Bookworm Dreams and welcome to a new video. So today I'm going to talk about my May wrap-up, and to start it, I'll start with the ToGAlong books. So if you watched my May TBR, you saw that I was behind on my Throne of Glass readathon and I was supposed to read 3 books for this, to catch up in May, and I did. So I read book 2, Crown of Midnight, I read book 3, Heir of Fire, and I read book 4, Queen of Shadows. So basically the ToGAlong is the Throne of Glass read-along. I'll leave the information about it down below. Basically the goal is to read 1 book of the Throne of Glass series in a month, and as I said, I got behind, so I had to catch up. So basically the Throne of Glass series follows Celaena Sardothien. She is an assassin, and in the first book we follow her as she takes part in a tournament to become the king's assassin. Now the problem is that the king is a very bad guy. He's an conqueror, and he conquered her land and killed her family. So she basically is working for her enemy, and and then she's trying to deal with all of that. So basically the first 2 books of this series, so Throne of Glass and Heir of Fire, set up the story, and they do have a sort of YA feel, and some that might be problematic for people, and then they don't want to continue, but they should, because from here on each book is better than the last one, and it's so fun to read. So basically I actually misplaced this. Okay, so in this one, this is the second one. In this one, so Celaena became, she wins the tournament, of course, and becomes the king's assassin. And in this one, she's basically trying to not kill the people that the king tells her to. And the entire time also from the beginning of the series, she has a relationship with the king's son Dorian and the captain of the guard Chaol, and it's basically a love triangle. And throughout the first and the second book, she basically switches off from one to another, and that might be a bit of a downside of this book, but it gets better, and basically the relationships become more complicated, and we get to know the characters in depth and care about them more, not if they'll hook up or stay together and whatnot. So basically in this one, she as I said, is trying not to kill people that she has to, and she is developing a relationship with Chaol, and Christina will have specific reviews for each of these books, but just in short, something happens and ruins everything. And it's just, the last, I want to say, 70 pages of this is so good. And yeah, sets up the whole sort of story to the end of the series so well. Then, I think it's this one. So this is the next one. So basically, Celaena leaves the kingdom, and she goes to sort of basically to develop her powers, because in the second one we sort of find out that she's also Fae, and she goes to develop her powers in a place that there is magic, because in the kingdom with the evil king there's no magic. And we meet new characters, we get so much world building done, we get so much history. I mean, I love this one. I think this one was until I read this one was my favorite, and yeah, I love it so much. Then in the Queen of Shadows, after the events of the 3rd book, I keep forgetting which books before you read this, you have to read the collection of short stories called Assassin's Blade, in which we sort of find out about Celaena's life before the first book, not how she became an assassin, that she's an assassin, the guild that she works for, her master, trainer, whatever, and all the sort of adventures she has before getting to first one. And so many holes are filled when you read the Assassin's Blade. We do have a review somewhere, I'll leave it here. And basically you have to read that before you read this one, because it makes so much more sense if you read the short story collection before you read this. So in this book, Celaena goes back to, I keep forgetting the names of places, the original kingdom from the first book, to deal with her past, to deal with, how she became an assassin, to deal with her master, and basically also sort of take revenge on the evil king. And the things that happen in this book, there's so many things. But yeah, see how many. I usually put post-its on cool stuff that happens and sort of plot important stuff that happens and everything. But yeah, so many things happen in this book, and since it's book 4, I mean, I can't really go into details to spoil, and I don't want to spoil this for like a person who's just watching a wrap up. But there will be a separate review for this, and I think Christina and I will have a lot to talk about because I think she has sort of not meh feelings about this, but I liked it more than she did. But we'll talk about it, and then you'll get to check it out. I participated in the Asian Readathon, and for that I read The Grace of Kings by Ken Liu. This book actually filled like I think 3 of the 5 challenges that we got for this readathon. I'll leave the information about the readathon and everything down below in the description box so you can check it out. So basically in this book we follow 2 characters that are very different from each other. One is a sort of bandit who really gets lucky in life. And one of them is a son of a deposed duke. They both live in this empire, and the empire's emperor dies in like the first couple of chapters. Basically, and when he dies, chaos ensues because, of course, his underlings have manipulated things and put his like younger son on the throne. So basically, he was like he was like 6 at this time, and so they put him on the throne so they could do stuff whatever they want. And our 2 main characters are basically sort of part of a rebellion to overthrow the entire empire because of course everything was conquered and whatnot. So you know it can come back to like the 7 kingdoms that they had before. I have a reading vlog for this book, so you can check it out somewhere for the whole readathon actually. And this book is so good. I gave it 5 stars. Now the world building is a quiz. I'm missing words here. The world building is so good. There are so many details, so many fun things that you read about. When I was reading this, I got reminded of Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by Susanna Clarke. Norrell, I don't remember. Anyway, both of these books have such intricate worlds and characters, and like there's so many details to follow. That's why both books are humongous, and it's so good. And the relationship between the 2 main characters that we follow is just, you know, when they meet, they become friends, then they work together and they're very successful, and then just some stupid things happened. And because of course in this book we have gods that sort of also manipulate humans and try to get involved. Basically they have like a bet, you know, the new war is coming and let's bet on who's going to win. And so each god picks like their champion, and you know, we follow them throughout the story, and we follow the gods. Even though they're not supposed to interfere, they interfere. And we follow them, how they try to manipulate stuff and everything. So basically, because of one little mistake, the relationship between our 2 main characters that we follow just sort of falls apart and goes sour. And the whole story was such a fun read, and I enjoyed it so much. It's a military fantasy. It's epic. So it also has a sequel. It's somewhere on my shelf. So if you want to get to it, please do, because it is really good. I also read Rebecca Roanhorse's Black Sun. I had to read it for a book club that Christina and I are a part of. So basically, in this book, we follow a couple of characters. We follow Giala and Serapio. We follow a sun priestess, and we follow sort of a prince character, but he's the son of... I don't know his name. I forgot his name already. He is the son of a leader of a town where the sun priests are. So basically, in this book, we have... The book is set in this, of course, you know, fantastical land or whatever, but the culture of the people that we follow is based on the pre-Columbian Native Americans in this, I guess, that lived in South America or Central America, and they have this religion revolving around the sun, and the sun priestess that we follow, she is sort of placed on her spot, on her position, by like the previous sun priest. And the whole shock about her being the sun priestess is because she's the lower caste of people in this land. And so everyone in the sun priesthood place, whatever, they are sort of scheming and plotting against her because like she's lowborn, and you know, we know better because we're highborn, kind of an attitude. And what irked me the most is that our sun priestess, who lived and worked in this place for like I think 2 decades already, she's like, she doesn't know how to not take care of herself, but to take care of her position. And she's always shocked and when people do stuff, and she doesn't react when people are actively disrespecting her and actively plotting against her. And she's sort of like, she doesn't really have agency. She's like a passive passive passenger in her life, and hopefully that will change in the second book, if there is a second book in this series. So we follow her as she's preparing for the sun eclipse, well, the black sun, of course, the sun eclipse, and so some religious stuff that's going to happen around that time and during the time. Then we follow, so as I said, Gialia and Serapio. So Serapio is a character who is my favorite character in the whole book. So basically we follow him from the beginning. The first chapter is one of the most ruthless chapters that I've ever read. It's so shocking. I mean, basically, in the first chapter, Serapio gets prepared by his mother to become a vessel for this, evil god who is, supposed to come and destroy everything. At least destroy the sun priests and everything that they stand for. So the first chapter just sort of gives us a very graphic description of how his mother prepares him to become the vessel. So he grows up being being prepared to become a vessel. So he learns how to. Throughout the book, we meet many of his teachers. So he learns how to fight. He learns the religion. He learns a bunch of some magic and so on. And then in the big then he is supposed to be transported from his place to the Sun Priestess town, so he can go there and destroy things. And he does that by boarding Gialia's ship. Gialia is she's a mermaid, basically. She's a siren, and everyone was. So she has a sort of magic when she's basically a sea captain. So when she's on the sea, she can control the sea and the weather somewhat with her song. So she's basically a siren. So when something happens in the book and she grows, not grows, but she suddenly has a tail and turns into a mermaid, everyone is so shocked on her ship. And while I'm reading this, I'm like, how did you not connect the two things? I don't know. Anyway, so Serapio and Gialia get into some trouble during their voyage, but they managed to do whatever they were supposed to do. But the two of them were really interesting to read about, because basically they spend the time on the ship sharing stories about their culture and whatever. So we're just learning a lot about this whole world. The whole book is actually very feels like an introduction to the whole series, like a first chapter or first couple of chapters of this ginormous series. It was interesting to read, but it was a I don't want to say a typical fantasy story, but it was you've read this story before. I mean, the most interesting part that sort of distincts it from every other fantasy book is the culture, and it's not Eurocentric. It's not like medieval times and whatever with knights and shit. I mean, there is versions of that, but not in the European-centric version that we are familiar with. So yeah, I think I gave this book 3.5 stars, but I rounded it down to 3 because I enjoyed the culture, I enjoyed the the world building and everything. Serapio was my favorite character. But yeah, I'm interested to continue to the next book, because I do like Rebecca Horse's writing. I read only 2 books of hers, but I enjoyed both of them for the most part, and I'm looking forward to reading the next one. And the last 2 things that I've read are basically sci-fi. It's a sci-fi romance. I've read books 3 and 4 in Ruby Dixon's Ice Planet Barbarians, because if you watch my May TBR, my goal was to read big books. And I've read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. And I was like, I don't feel... I had 2 days left of the month, and I was like, I can either start Islington's humongous book that's over 700 pages, or I can start Blood Song or whatever, but I feel like something light and fluffy, and Ruby Dixon's books are always... I think they're always around 200 pages, so I can, knock them out in a day or so. So I read book 3 in this Ice Planet Barbarian series, which is called Barbarian Lover. Basically, the whole plot of the whole series is that there's a group of women that have been abducted from Earth by aliens to go be sold at a slave market. And to the way to the slave market, the ship was either being I don't know, I think the government or the IRS or someone was trying to catch them, so they dropped their cargo, because I guess you're not supposed to steal humans and sell them, and or I guess participate in slave trade. So they dropped their container with the humans, and they landed on this ice planet. It has a name. I don't know it. Anyway, so in this ice planet live the barbarians. They also have a name. I don't know it. And basically they live there, and in every book you follow sort of one couple, so one from the humans and one from the planet barbarians. Now the thing is that this planet is sort of not lethal, but it's very harmful to humans and the barbarians, so they have some symbiote in their chest that helps them survive. So when a symbiote when the symbiote wants its host to mate, it finds a soulmate, sort of. Basically, if two people come together, both have symbiotes, and they symbiotes like respond to one another by vibrating. So they're supposed to be mates, they're supposed to mate and then produce a child. So this is basically what happens in each of the books that you read, but each of the books sort of also deals with a specific kind of problem. So in book 3, our couple that we follow is Kira y Keho, I think. Kira is barren, so she can't have children, and her worry is that, you know, since the humans and the aliens sort of integrated into one tribe, that she will be cast out because she can't really contribute to the tribe. So her basic role in this book is to sort of, since she was one of the humans that had like a translator implanted into her ear, is to go to a spaceship that is on this planet to get the thing removed, because she can hear the aliens coming back. So in the 3rd book, she basically deals with the aliens, not with the help of the barbarian guy, because she does it all by herself. But, you know, she has this sort of admirer, and he's there to make her happy, and because she's always so sad because she's worried about everything. And just, it was a fun relationship to read, because, you know, she's all worried and stuff and sad, and he's all like goofy and happy, and he wants to make her smile, and it's just, you know, the smart stuff is always interesting and fun to read. So book 4 that I read for this was called Barbarian Mine, in which we follow Rook and Harrow. So basically we meet Harrow in the 3rd one, and during their like walking from the spaceship to a cave where they live and whatnot, she gets sort of abducted. Basically, she comes across another alien who has been living on his own for a really long time, because when he was younger, his father took him away from the tribe, and you know, then he died, and so the kid was left alone by himself. So he walks around naked, and you know, he's like actual caveman, barbarian, whatever. So when he meets Harrow or sees Harrow, he's following her around. His symbiote sort of reacts to her, and he's like, oh yeah, then claps her on the head and takes her away to his cave. And so the two of them are sort of surviving on their own. And she thinks that because she left the people that she was with, that they died, so she couldn't come back to the tribe. So she stays with him, and together they, you know, they form a little family, and, you know, they spend time doing stuff. What was interesting about this book, we follow a sort of an alien human pregnancy from the beginning to its end, and that definitely sort of gave it more of a dimension to the whole series. You know, the relationship was interesting. There's, you know, the smut scenes are like smut scenes. Like, what can you say? They're fun. I like this series. I'm enjoying it. It's you know, it's a good palate cleanser too if you're reading like a bunch of big books and whatnot. This is my May wrap up. If you've read any of the books that I have and you want to share your opinions or thoughts, please do down below in the comments. Like this video, subscribe to our channel if you want to. I will leave the link to Christina's wrap up somewhere over here. There are some important links to world issues in our description box, so if you have the time, please do check them out. And that is it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!